the best place to buy up.
Sign up at serve.ac.
State policy that elevates one religious belief over another. Yet today we have religious beliefs being elevated over Christianity all the time. Not only just elevated, Christianity is being demoted, trampled upon, destroyed in the classrooms all the time as white supremacy, as terrorist beliefs. And then in 73, what the courts decide, Roe v. Wade, 73. Now again, we got a good decision from the courts last year on that one. So again, got to give credit where credit's due. But then the courts in 73 decided the right to abortion. Well, of course, you've just excluded God. You've taken creation out of the equation. So it's not an infant. It's not a child. It's not a baby of which God opens and closes the womb. It doesn't have a soul. It's just a massive tissue. This is what naturalism would teach. It doesn't even have a soul. So what's it matter? You see the progression? That's what they believe. What I just laid out is what they believe. But you see the progression? You see how where it leads us? Let's go to the phone lines. What are your thoughts today? 1-800-347-9829. 1-800-347-9829. Again, 1-800-347-9829. Barry in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, line 1. Barry, thanks for calling in today, Barry.
Hey, Brian, you're ever so humble all-star. Really like your show. I got a quick question for you. The Bible starts out, first verse, it says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Well, which did he create first, the heavens or the earth?
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Well, I think the heavens came first from listening to different Dr. Walter Brown, some of these guys I respect. I think perhaps the heavens came first. Of course, it depends on how you define heaven. We know that there's three heavens. You have where the birds fly, we have where the planets are, and then we have where God lives. So at some point, okay.
I've got a comment, if I can interrupt, please.
Yeah, go right ahead.
I think the first thing he created was time. In other words, beginning. I think he created that first because he is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. And before he could create the heavens and the earth, he had to create them between the beginning and the end. So I think he created time as the first thing.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you, but it's an interesting conversation, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, absolutely interesting. Thank you, Barry. 1-800-347-9829. 1-800-347-9829. Chris, line 2. Chris, thanks for calling in today, Chris.
Hey, Brad, thanks for taking my call. Great show. You were talking earlier about a lot of the rioting and stuff going on with Antifa and BLM. I want to talk about that. And you probably remember this back in 2020 where there was a Trump rally in Portland, and there was a guy from Washington State came down and he murdered a Trump supporter, and it was actually caught on camera. A guy was filming it with his phone. It was on a Saturday night, and he shot the guy, and you can see a truck roll through the intersection. You can hear two shots, and then when the truck clears, you can see the shooter run off into the night. It was on a Saturday, and then the following Thursday, he went on the news and he tried to justify his murderous incident, his murderous rampage or whatever, and then he justified so he could go out and do it again. And that's a few hours later, the cops caught up with him and they took him out. His name was Michael Forrest Rhino. You might remember that. He went on Vice News. It's a Marxist propaganda so-called news outlet. And then he was taken out a few hours later by the cops. So, I mean, kudos to the cops in that deal for taking him out. You know, the guy was a domestic terrorist.
Yeah, that's the real domestic terrorist. Chris, I do remember that. In fact, that is in my documentary Brainwashed America Part 1. Brainwashed America Part 1, I include that that murder is, as you said, is on video. And he was targeted. Now, and he's not the only one that has been targeted and killed simply because they are perceived to be a political or social conservative.
Yep.
So unfortunately, this trend is growing. 1-800-347-9829. Also, what do you think about what's going on with Chick-fil-A? What are your thoughts about the Hill reporting that they have a diversity, equity, inclusion officer? What do you make about the fact, as I said in 2012, I said, great, good for you. I'm glad you came out and made the statement about marriage. That's great. Now let's see if you can make those kind of statements when push comes to shove and you have to pay the price for that conviction. I'm not so sure you will. Sadly, I don't think they have. In fact, I even have an article by my friend Massey, writing an article a few years ago on some of the leftist groups he reported that he found out that Chick-fil-A had been giving money to. So I think there's been some funny business going on behind the scenes. But what do you think about this latest? 1-800-347-9829. Chris from Michigan. Hi, Chris, line 4. Go ahead, Chris.
Hi, I want to thank you for all the years of service you have given to the listening audience. I've learned so much. I work in the media in Michigan. I have told people about you for years. And everything, the Chick-fil-A thing, the diversity, equity, inclusion officer, that is a ridiculous, beyond ridiculous title for anything. And of course, that doesn't include Christians or whites. And then, because I also work in the media, the news every day, I haven't heard yet on national news about the partial building collapse in Davenport, Iowa. I haven't heard about the commencement speaker at CUNY Law in New York. She was very anti-American.
Now, the partial building collapse in Davenport, Iowa, that one is new to me. I'm going to go search that one out. The commencement speaker, this is the one that was wearing the hijab, right?
Yes.
Can you tell our audience what she said?
So just that she is, well, she is against everything Americans stand for. She is against capitalism. She is against Israel. It was awful. And I was only able to play a short clip from that. But check that out on YouTube or any of the alternative sites. Because it gave me the chills. And this is our future. And it's terrifying. I never thought when I was growing up I'd ever see the times that we're in. And I remember my parents talking about it.
Yep, indeed, Chris. Yeah, she was an Islamo-Nazi, is what she is.
Exactly. So thank you. Keep doing what you're doing, and it's so appreciated.
Thank you. You're very, very kind, Chris. Thank you, Chris. Let's run real quick line to Jeff. We run out of time. Jeff, thanks for calling in, Jeff. Hi, Jeff.
Support gay marriage, but I take myself back to the heart of the gal from Kentucky who refused to issue a marriage license to a gay couple, which led to a lawsuit, and now we got gay marriage across America.
CDs are available.
That's right. Thank you, guys. Take care.
729-9829. Or to hear an MP3 file of this or earlier programs, go to worldviewweekend.com. Views expressed may or may not be those of Worldview Weekend, VCY America, or this station. This program is a public affairs presentation of worldviewweekend.com and is heard weekdays on VCY America. In Washington. Lawmakers in the U.S. House vote tonight on the bipartisan budget plan to avert a government default. Not all Republicans are happy with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, including Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry in the House Freedom Caucus.
The Speaker himself has said on numerous occasions, the greatest threat to America is our debt, and now is the time to act. We had the time to act, and this deal fails completely.
But the Speaker is pushing back against criticism from GOP lawmakers who oppose the deal, and he's urging all Republicans who want to vote against it.
I'm not sure what in the bill people are concerned about. It is the largest savings of $2.1 trillion we've ever had. It's the first time in history the largest rescissions, where we're pulling money back from the hardworking taxpayers that are going to China. Are they opposed to work requirements for welfare?
Speaking of the GOP, there's good news for the party on the Senate race in West Virginia.
West Virginia Governor Jim Justice leads Democrat Joe Manchin by 22 points in a hypothetical Senate matchup, according to a new poll. Justice tops Manchin 54 to 32% among registered West Virginia voters in the poll from East Carolina University. The same poll gives Justice a job approval rating of 57% compared to 33% for Manchin. Manchin's seat is on a short list of those Republicans hope to flip in 2024. Bob Agnew reporting.
North Korea's launch of a spy satellite has ended in an embarrassing failure. However, it still prompted public confusion and security jitters in neighboring South Korea and Japan. Authorities in South Korea's capital sent text messages to city residents urging them to move to safer places. Stocks are moving lower on Wall Street at this hour. This is SRN News. Another 95 churches are quitting the United Methodist Church.
The denomination has approved the departure of the Louisiana congregations as the countdown to the formal split in the United Methodist Church continues. A General Assembly is set for next year, at which time the schism will be formalized, and many churches are getting out now in an effort to make sure their property is not confiscated. The UMC began losing congregations when it embraced gay marriage and homosexual ordination. Michael Harrington, SRN News.
Christians are the most likely group to be persecuted by the Chinese government, but other people of faith come in for mistreatment as well. Last week, a crowd clashed with police over plans to demolish a mosque in the country's southwest, as President Xi Jinping's government tightens control over religion and society. Videos on social media showed protesters throwing water bottles at officers with helmets and shields outside their mosque. This is SRN News. China is warning of artificial intelligence risks and calling for beefed-up national security measures.
After a ruling Communist Party meeting chaired by President Xi, China is issuing a statement warning of risks posed by AI while also calling for heightened national security measures. The position underscores tension between China's aim to be a global leader in cutting-edge technology and concerns of its potential social and political harms. The statement comes after scientists and industry leaders in the U.S. recently warned of similar risks. It stresses that in China, there is a need to improve the security governance of internet data and AI. I'm Mimi Montgomery.
Davenport, Iowa's mayor says residents are missing, including 2 people who could still be in the wreckage of a partly collapsed apartment building. Dozens of people gathered outside the wreckage last night and held a candlelight vigil. More details at srnnews.com.
Our good news verse for today is Numbers chapter 23, verse 19. God is not a man that he should lie, neither the Son of Man that he should repent. Hath he said, and shall he not do it? Or hath he spoken, and shall he not make it good? That's good news from Numbers 23, verse 19.
As you face the trials and struggles in your life, tune into VCY America Radio for faith-building Bible teaching and sacred music that ministers to a hurting heart.
You're listening to VCY America, KVCP Phoenix, 88.3 FM.
Looking for a lift? Experience a seat from the soar with Michael Guido of Metter, Georgia.
Bored by a tedious talk in the House of Commons, Winston Churchill fell asleep. Angrily, the speaker walked over to him and asked, "Must you fall asleep while I'm speaking?" Without opening his eyes, Churchill answered, "No, sir, it's purely voluntary." But too many people go through life napping. The Lord created you because he wants to use you where you are. So look for a hurt and heal it. The Lord doesn't want dozing disciples. He wants serving saints.
For your free copy of Dr. Guido's daily devotional, Seeds from the Sower, write The Sower, Metter, Georgia, 30439.
Visit us on the web at thesower.com.
タコベルでいいね。タコベル。いいよ。
VCY America presents Crosstalk, a nationwide call-in program discussing issues our communities, our churches, our nation, and our world.
タコベルって何があったっけ？
Voice your concerns.
ブリトー。
ブリトーが。いいね。
Live by satellite and around the world on the internet at vcyamerica.org. Here is today's Crosstalk.
And we thank you for joining us on Crosstalk today here on VCY America. Ladies and gentlemen, many are shaking their heads in disbelief as to how far corporate America is forcing an aberrant lifestyle on consumers across the country and parading it as being normal. I mean, in my opinion, Target has gone off the rails in their Pride collection. But, and we'll be talking about what they're doing, but they're joined by Kohl's selling LGBT onesies for babies. The LA Dodgers featuring Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence who mock Christ as sacrificial death on the cross. They're joined by North Face and their Summer of Pride, by PetSmart with their Pride theme clothing for pets. Disney Plus doesn't want to miss the action as they feature a teenage girl's love affair with Satan. According to Deadline, the series follows an 18-year-old girl becoming pregnant after a one-night stand with the devil. And not to be outdone, churches are engaging in this as well, even inviting drag performers into their pulpits. Our guest today is speaking out that a false religion is out of control. Joining us, we welcome Robert Knight. Bob is a former Los Angeles Times news editor and columnist for the Washington Times and tributes to other publications, multiple publications. He's held senior positions in a number of pro-family organizations. He's written several books of the coming communist wave, what happens if the left captures all three branches of government, Liberty on the Brink, and Crooked, what really happened in the 2020 election and how to stop the fraud. Bob, thanks for joining us here today on Crosstalk.
Always good to be on with you, Jim.
Bob, you just penned a column called A False Religion That Paints in Rainbow Colors. Now, many will use terms like depraved or deviant, immoral. You use the term false religion, an atheistic paganism. Share your heart with us, if you would.
I thought it was time to take off the gloves with all that's going on. And I wanted to target the rainbow flag in particular because it was created back in 1978 by a drag queen and gay activist who said, wow, we're going to use this because people love rainbows, and we will introduce the idea that it stands for tolerance, diversity, love, etc. But really it doesn't. It stands for what I regard as a false religion, because the whole LGBTQ ethos is that nobody's a sinner. You don't have to repent of anything. Anybody who says you do is a hater and a bigot, and therefore we have to replace Christianity with the LGBTQ religion. It's really dangerous because it can keep people from eternity.
Yes.
It lies to them that they don't need to repent and seek the redeeming love of Jesus Christ. That's how dangerous it is, and I think we've let it go way too long up to this point, just seeing as one more political symbol. It's much more than that.
It is more than a political symbol. And Bob, just to point out, the rainbow flag that is used for so-called pride contains 6 colors. The rainbow that God created contains 7. So you have the number of man versus the number of God, which is an interesting matter between those two. But indeed, it is a religion, especially when you look at, and you use the term atheistic paganism. And really, that's what is at the root of this, is it not?
Well, it is. It says that you really don't need God.
Mm-hmm.
And a corollary I've mentioned in the column is that, okay, say you're one of these people who think you can have it all. You can identify as gay and being Christian and all that. What you're saying is that, look, we believe there are such things as sins, but not sexual sin. That's all exempt. We can't count that anymore, so we can do anything we want. And this is the idea that you make up your own rules is the essence of Satanism.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Satanists will tell you, look, we don't really believe in the devil any more than we believe in God. We believe in the idea that we could do whatever we want, that we make up the rules, and we use Satan as the symbol of our freedom. And a lot of people, but it's functionally the same thing. That's how Satan would have us conduct our lives. That there, as if there's no God, no particular rules we need to follow. Do as thou wilt was the slogan of the Aleister Crowley, a renowned Satanist in the beginning of the 20th century. And his philosophy was anything goes, and that's really what the Satanists are proclaiming, and that's what the rainbow flag is saying.
Mm-hmm. Well, I find it interesting too, in that many media sources have pointed out, such as the Daily Wire, about the Target hiring an artist to create satanic items to make, various designs for the company, and among those are this LGBT clothing and items really geared toward youth, but it's toward all ages. But indeed, when you've got one who is a follower of Satanism, that speaks volumes in itself.
Yeah, one of the renderings that they don't sell at Target, but you used to be able to find it on his website. And the last time I looked, his website was down. I think he's been overwhelmed with interest. But it was a picture of a guillotine, and it said homophobe headrest. In other words, we want to kill you if you don't go along with us on this stuff. I mean, and what does Target say to that? That's the kind of guy you buy from and are putting out front. Maybe you don't sell that particular image, but you're selling his designs that all promote sexual sin and the whole LGBTQ religion to children.
Yes, and Bob, and here's the connection. Yes, so you have this clothing line toward children, but it's also been reported here just within the last few days as well that a senior executive at Target, looking right now at a Fox News story, in the marketing department maintains a position with a controversial K-12 advocacy organization called GLSEN. This is Target's Pride Month partner.
Yeah, it's the Gay and Lesbian Straight Education Network. They are a very evil group that has co-opted public schools and said that and introduced days of silence and that sort of thing, where all the students are supposed to be silent in solidarity with the LGBTQ movement. And of course, this puts anybody who disagrees with them in a very tough position. And they also have introduced incredibly propagandistic books in schools. I remember when I was at Family Research Council and Concerned Women for America's Culture and Family Institute, that we looked at the reading lists, and my goodness, these were recruitment manuals. There were how-to sex stories. Some of them were about men and boys. I mean, and they tried to keep parents in the dark, but a lot of this got out. And now I think people are waking up, Jim, as to just how far this has gone.
They are waking up, but when you have groups like GLSEN that I mean, their policies really are keeping parents in the dark on even now this fad of in-school gender transition and so forth, and when you have a vice president of brand marketing at Target who's also a treasurer at GLSEN, does it surprise you that carries over into the offerings that are going on at Target at this time?
Yeah, this is reminiscent of Disney when the Christopher Rufo caught them on video.